Good morning to everyone, and thank you all for coming out this morning. I want to especially thank my friend, Congressman Frank J. Mervan, for everything that you do and everything that you're going to do as our very own congressman. Thank you for coming. We also have Deputy Mayor Trent McCain, who's also a commissioner on the Gary-Chicago International Airport Board, as well as our very own police chief, Brian Evans. I want to thank you all for coming out today. Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to meet with everybody again today for more great news right here within the city of Gary. It's certainly been a busy week for us as we announce federal grants that the city is receiving in order to continue to move Gary forward. For decades now, we here in Gary and the region have been truly blessed with federal partners who care about the progress of our city and who repeatedly find ways to help us improve it. Today is yet another day that we celebrate with Congressman Frank J. Mervan, as well as all of our leaders from Northwest Indiana and our Sanitary District and Airport Board members as well. But specifically today, we'll be announcing 4 federal grants that we've received here recently. The first is a $3.5 million grant that's going for Gary Sanitary District improvements. These funds will help us significantly improve our sanitary sewer infrastructure, as well as make improvements for all of the residents in that region. In short, we believe that the $3.5 million certainly will pave the way for future commercial as well as residential development, but there's a benefit for the existing residents also. This particular project will increase the forced main from a 42-inch pipe to a 48-inch pipe and essentially allow waters to flow freely to our wastewater treatment plant. In essence, and to kind of put it in simpler terms, the more water that we're able to divert to the wastewater plant means less contaminated water going to our Lake Michigan area. And certainly we're appreciative of that. It's a benefit for, as I said, it's an opportunity for increased or future development, but it's a benefit today for the residents who not only live in that area and experience flooding, but residents all over the region as well as city of Gary. In short, it's a water quality issue that we're certainly proud to tout today. We're also here to announce a $2 million grant for acquisitions at the Gary-Chicago International Airport. Specifically, as you know, we've been experiencing a lot of attention, specifically in the area of cargo development, but we also recognize that there's additional improvements that need to be made at the airport, and we want to be able to keep pace with the demand. This $2 million grant will be utilized for additional equipment at the airport, such as fire equipment, as well as snow removal equipment. And any future revenues that we receive will certainly go a long way to help us experience and realize the new crosswind runway. But today, we're here to talk specifically about the $2 million grant that will provide the additional equipment at our Gary-Chicago International Airport. Just as we need infrastructure improvements, we also need to be concerned with our public safety. And today we're proud to announce a $500,000 grant for technology upgrades at our Gary Police Department. And shortly you'll hear from Chief Evans, who will explain and talk about some of the potential uses that will certainly go a long way to increase not only public safety, but the perception of safety across the region as it relates to the city of Gary. Lastly, we're going to be announcing a $682,000 grant for the Marquette Greenway Trail. This one is one that's certainly close and near to my heart. As an avid cyclist and someone who enjoys the outdoors, I understand the importance of having recreational activities in the city as we continue to grow. Our residents already utilize that trail as well as some of the others along the city, but this particular one completes a segment of the Marquette Greenway trail that extends from the west side of Gary all the way into Hammond. And so we're certainly proud to announce that today. But again, we're more thankful for our congressman as well as all of our legislators on the federal level, including President Joe Biden, for making sure that Gary has all the resources that it needs to continue to be a great city, to continue to thrive, and as we often say, to continue to reimagine Gary. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce my friend, Congressman Frank J. Mrvan. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So today is the first day. It's a day of promise for the city of Gary. And I'm glad that the mayor had talked about the dollar amounts and the investment, the federal government. But I want to make things perfectly clear. First, I want to thank you, Mayor, and Deputy Mayor Trent McCain and Chief Evans for unlocking local revenue to enable us to bring back investments into Gary, Indiana. So the dollar amount isn't what's important. What's important is that we're giving hope. So let's just talk about what the mayor discussed. The police department, $500,000. That's public safety. That's telling our community we are prioritizing as an administration. As a member of Congress, we are prioritizing public safety in the city of Gary. We will give you, Chief, the resources necessary to emphasize and to give promise to the students at Westside High School, to give promise to the neighbors in our neighborhood that we are focusing on public safety. That's what these grants are about. When we talk about the Marquette Greenway, we're talking about quality of life. We're talking an investment that makes trails better, but big picture, it makes Gary more livable. When people reimagine Gary, they're thinking now public safety. They are thinking economic development. They're thinking quality of life, the utilization of our resources when it comes to Lake Michigan. So that's vitally important. I'm proud to make federal investments and as a member of Congress to bring those dollars to the city of Gary and to Northwest Indiana because we are unlocking not only public safety, not only quality of life, but as the mayor mentioned, the Gary Sanitary District, $3.5 million. That dollar amount's not important. What's important is that the city and the administration now is going to be able to create economic development, be able to create opportunity for businesses to come in and relocate because they have more capacity. For younger people, once they graduate college, to come back, buy a house on Lake Michigan because we have a quality of life and clean water because we're investing now and it's a priority. And the next level, the Gary-Chicago International Airport. I want everyone to know we are going to be competitive. When it comes to cargo, the Gary-Chicago Airport is going to compete. We're going to have the infrastructure. We have the leadership with Mayor Prince, Deputy Mayor, and former Congressman Pete Visklowski with the vision to say we are going to utilize this asset, do it right, and compete globally here in the city of Gary for cargo and logistics business. And with that, as a member of Congress, I'm not bringing just big checks. I'm bringing hope, prioritization, and economic development, and a clean environment, community safety, and making sure we work together in a collaborative way to show the world that I, as a member of Congress, the administration is working with the city of Gary, Mayor Prince, not just to reimagine Gary, but to lift it to its next level of potential. For those students at Westside, for those students at Bailey Middle School, that we're giving them hope and promise for the future. With that, I thank you very much. And in the future, I will continue to go back to Washington, D.C. and advocate for Northwest Indiana and Gary, Indiana, to reach its full potential to continuously focus on things that are important when it comes to community safety, economic development, clean environment, air and water, and doing all that we can to invest in ourselves and our community. And I want to thank Chuck Hughes for being here because when he comes here, that means we have collaborative effort from the Gary Chamber and everybody's going to be civil and be working to bring in businesses. With that, I thank you very much, and I believe Deputy Mayor Chief McCain.
On behalf of the chairman of the Gary-Chicago International Airport, Chairman Peter Visklosky, and the rest of my colleagues on the Airport Authority, we'd like to thank the Congressman for delivering this substantial investment in the Gary-Chicago International Airport. We're very excited about the heights we will reach. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are on our way. Thank you very much, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Thank you. On behalf of the Gary Police Department and Public Safety, I would like to thank Congressman Mrvan and our administration, Mayor Prince, Deputy Mayor McCain, for thinking about how public safety can be enhanced with the use of technology. We're very proud to be able to accept this enhancement for our technology base and be able to expand on some of the technologies that we bought last year, which is our license plate readers, our camera pods, which we are looking forward to, and our body cams. And these types of devices and technology will allow for us to have more accountability, more safety for our citizens, and expand the promise of us providing a safe environment for all to enjoy in the city of Gary. Thank you.
So folks, that concludes the announcement portion of this session. We certainly want to take some questions from the press. I want to thank the members of the media who've traveled a little bit further to be with us here today. Of course, thank our local media, Jackie from 411. But at this particular time, we'll open it up to questions.
The $10 million.
Yes.
We counted it up to about 6.7 today. Press release said $10 million in infrastructure for Northwest Indiana. What's the
Local match.
Yeah, so we didn't include the local match portion of it here, Jackie. Yeah, but that would probably equate to about the 10 million. Thank you for the question. Yes.
What is that local match?
It's a little bit more than 1.6, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Will the police department be adding more license plate readers and body cameras, or is this just going to help maintain what exists now?
So there may be an opportunity, and the chief could probably speak a little bit better than that, but we're actually exploring the opportunity to enhance some other systems in other areas as well. So we haven't specifically determined all of the uses for it, but body cam certainly is something that we want to continue to enhance. Recently, we announced a $88,000 grant from state of Indiana specifically for body cams, but another component of it obviously is the data storage as well as the other metrics associated with it. So, yes, sir.
So will,
Jackie.
I know you said there are various uses for that 500K.
Mm-hmm.
So will any of it be dedicated to vehicles, vehicle technology, computers?
So, Chief, you want to speak to that a little bit more specifically?
The vehicle is not just necessarily technology, but some of the technology we're using, some of the technologies we're looking forward to getting are expanding our MDTs, our mobile data terminals in the car. So right now, a vehicle for officers all across the nation is a mobile office. Officers have to be able to work independently, have to be able to work effectively, and to be able to do everything in their field. Many, many years ago when I started, a very long time ago, we had to go back to the police station to complete all of our work. That work is now done in the field, right where the officer is, through mobile data terminals, and we're expanding the use of those and making sure every officer has one.
MDT.
Yep.
Computers.
If I could, I have a sliver of knowledge of this. So what that means to the officer who is responding to or pulling a car over, they have real-time data in their car, giving them the information so that they're better equipped to understand what situation they're going into. So it makes them more efficient in the field because they have the technology in the car to receive and to send information after a call to make it more efficient and more effectively. So the $500,000 is giving the technology to specifically in the field officers to be able to be better prepared and to have that information in the whole country. That's what's transforming law enforcement, is going to that real-time data that makes an impact, a collective impact in the field for our officers.
So, and to add to that, Jackie, and I appreciate the follow-up question, I have been, or we have been in discussions about another aspect of public safety that we wanted to add to the police department. Also, I hadn't had a opportunity to speak with the chief about a specific designation, but as the congressman spoke about, it's all about real-time data, and one of the areas that we know we want to improve on, or at least to build out, is a real-time data center, and so that could potentially be used for some of that as well. Thank you.
Congressman, today's 420. Mayor McDermott is going to be joined in this new commercial. You're an advocate for federal decriminalization. Do you see it going anywhere?
I don't speak for the United States Senate, and I don't believe it's good to predict what happens there. I stand on the record of what I voted for and support what I voted for as far as decriminalization, and I believe that what the United States Senate does is up to them. Elections have consequences, so what you believe in and who you vote for United States Senator will have consequences when it comes to that issue.
Do you see an evolution of feelings about this and a softening of opposition?
What I see is that when we talk about decriminalizing marijuana, that a lot of individuals in black and brown communities are in jail where a lot of the states have made it legal, and we need to have an understanding as the United States, a comprehensive plan to be able to address the issue.
Robbie, do you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For both yourself and for the congressman, the two big ticket items here, the airport, sanitary district, you both talked about quality of life, and that is such a big hill to climb, of course, for Northwest Indiana, for Gary. I'd like you to sort of talk a little bit more about how we can make a direct link between these big ticket dollar items and improving the quality of life around here.
Sure. So I'll speak specifically first about the water force main project out there. As I mentioned earlier, our existing system is antiquated, it's deteriorating, and in some instances, we certainly have experienced collapses in particular areas. This particular project will take us from a 42-inch force main to a 48-inch. Thus increasing capacity. And ultimately, the goal is to make sure that we're able to effectively direct the excess or contaminated waters to the Gary Sanitary District wastewater treatment plant versus having them flow into the Little Calumet River, which will ultimately end up in Lake Michigan. So ultimately, it's about quality of life or quality of water, which amounts to quality of life for not only Gary residents, but as I mentioned earlier, this is a particular project that's going to impact the entire region. Congressman, do you want to?
I do. So the mayor touched base on impact the region. Hobart, Lake Station, and Maryville feed into that system, into the Gary Sanitary District. So let me directly answer who benefits. The quality, we all do with the quality of water going into Lake Michigan, but Mrs. Smith, who is a single mom who lives on Adams Street, her basement won't flood because we've increased capacity. So builders will look at vacant lots to create new homes because now we've increased capacity. So a logistics company or a cargo company will have a place to put its corporate headquarters because we're increasing the capacity to be able to move water. Now it's not sizzle and it's not romantic, but it's infrastructure. And that's what our country's built on. Once we invest in the infrastructure, we create jobs, short-term, but we allow for long-term investment. And I believe that's what Mayor Gary is trying to do. He's trying to think beyond today and invest in tomorrow. And the Gary Chicago International Airport, near and dear to my heart. We're making it a priority. We're going to be competitive. And what that means is when we invest in the Gary community or Gary Chicago International Airport with its infrastructure, two things happen. We tell the world we're ready for and open for business. And two, we look to expand upon that to be even more competitive. So this is a chess game. And the chess game is to win businesses to be welcomed in Northwest Indiana and to utilize its assets, which include that airport.
Can I just ask you about the airport?
Yes, sir.
Do you need to expand or lengthen your basic runway there to be able to really compete the way you say you want to?
Thank you, Congressman. So, Ravi may have mentioned this in a previous conversation that we've had, but certainly not today. We have the luxury of having a runway now that's comparable to that of Midway Airport. And this $2 million certainly isn't part of any runway extension, but what we are focusing on in terms of a runway is actually creating a crosswind runway to create enhanced capacity for, as Congressman alluded to, future cargo activity or additional future cargo activity. Before I take the next question, I noticed my colleague in the room, Councilwoman of the 3rd District. She's also finance chairman and just a great person. Thanks for coming out today, Councilwoman. That's okay. Councilwoman Mary Brown. Thank you.
Well, I am so happy about some of the things that you're talking about. The sanitary district is extremely important. Those people, my colleagues, my constituents, I should say, in the 3rd District complain often about their basements being flooded. So whatever we're going to do to assist them, I will be truly excited about that. And I'm happy about the airport and the other infrastructure, but I am truly happy about that because they call me, Councilwoman, can you do something about my basement flooding? I can't do anything.
Sure.
But, this is great. I'm real happy about it.
Councilwoman, thank you again for your support, and I've served with Councilwoman Brown for over 8 years when we were on City Council, but it's just a pleasure to be back with someone who has the experience that she does, understands the concerns of the community, certainly of her district, but the entire community. We'll take a couple of more questions, and the gentleman right here, and then I'll come back.
Mayor, could you go ahead, what's the money in the trail? What enhancement is that going to, what's the money going to be used for on the trail?
So Congressman has been working on this a little bit longer than I, but it's my understanding that we will connect the Marquette Greenway Trail, which, without question creates additional recreational activities. But as we've alluded to a couple of times in this press conference, it's about quality of life. It's about getting people outdoors and enjoying the natural environments and the natural assets of our city. And so it's one from a personal perspective that I certainly intend to take advantage of, as I do with most of the trails around the region. But to have one completed in Gary or additional leg of it completed certainly is going a long way. And it's consistent with the 2040 plan, which is an attempt, an effort to create a trail that stretches across the entire country. And so there's no reason in the world why Gary shouldn't be a part of that, and because of that, we celebrate it today. Congressman, do you have any additional comments on that?
And specifically, the funding will be used to developing engineering for the Klein Avenue Bridge Street segment of the trail through the city. Ultimately, what we have to envision is it is economic development. So it is a connector. It's a connector from Chicago all around the Great Lakes to bring people in from across the country who have bicyclists, enthusiasm to participate in Gary, Indiana. So that our restaurants on Broadway, when someone stops, or in Miller along that trail, someone says, Gary, Indiana is a beautiful place to visit and you ought to go to this restaurant. That's what this investment's all about, the utilization of our natural resources and tying into the economic development around the Great Lakes and being utilized by people from all over the country. That's what today symbolizes.
Thank you, Congressman. Jackie, and we'll take one more after Jackie.
I was tagging along on the question earlier about the Marquette Greenway. Isn't it more, can you identify a spot? You say Klein Avenue and Bridge Street?
And Congressman, again, I'm certainly chime in. We actually want to complete the section that's between Bridge Street and which is, as you know, one of the furthest spots west in Gary, but also to connect it to the east portion of the Hammond Trail.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Any other questions? Chuck Hughes.
No question. But, I used to be a music so certainly that's music to my ears. But I think what I'm most impressed with is how our government is working on behalf of this community. First of all, starting with the national administration, and then with the great work of our congressman, recognizing the need for our community. Mayor, with you and the city council judiciously using the funds and resources that were presented to Gary for projects like this to be in that position. When I was a city councilman serving with Councilwoman Brown and you, we didn't have that kind of luxury. And so the fact that you guys are collaborating along with, as I say, our congressman and President Biden in order to see these kind of things, it's just music from an economic development standpoint and quality of life for the chamber members. I have a gentleman here from Pennsylvania, who, young lady from Montana. They're talking about investing in this community. So listen, we are excited as a chamber. We're delighted to be a partner. And Mary is nodding at me, because at the council meeting, she used to tell me I talk too long. So I'm done. But I just wanted to share that, because that really means a lot.
Thank you, Chuck. So that will conclude this portion of it. I want to again thank Congressman Mervan, Frank J. Mervan, all of our federal partners, Deputy Mayor Trent McCain, and Police Chief Brian Evans, and certainly all of you for coming out today. You know, since the beginning of our administration, we've asked our residents to reimagine Gary, and today I believe this is yet another example of us doing just that. Creating cleaner, safer neighborhoods that everyone can benefit from. And I'm certainly proud to be the mayor today and just glad to be partnered with Congressman Mrvan and all of your efforts. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all.